In 2023, I did an entire locomotive collection update video. 3 years later, I think it's safe to say the collection has grown quite a bit. In my last video, I had 169 locomotives. These included both working models, static models, as well as dummies and projects. Since then, some projects have been completed, and others have started. I have also started the process of replacing and upgrading some of the locomotives. I also plan on selling a few in the not-too-distant future. I now have so many locomotives that they no longer just fit on the dining room table. Some now have to be on the counter as well. Let's once again visit my grandpa's dining room table and see what locomotives I have. Starting off with some Pennsy heritage, we have my Camden and Amboy John Bull by Bachmann. I think it might be a fun project to try to put a working LED in the headlight. Another part of my Pennsy heritage is my Northern Central Railroad number 17, named York. This is a heavily kit-bashed Bachmann 440, that at some point will be featured on my series, Bettering Your Bachmann. Moving into Pennsylvania Railroad locomotives, we have Pennsylvania Railroad A3 number 96. On this locomotive, I tried to install tender pickups to make it more reliable. I would also like to give it a better Pennsylvania Railroad paint scheme. Another Pennsy 040 is my A5 number 371. This is a locomotive by Bowser and is probably one of my favorite small locomotives. Here's my yet-to-be-numbered Pennsylvania Railroad B6. This is by Gem Olympia, and at some point I need to figure out a number for this one. This is my older Tool Bachmann 440, number 566. I'm experimenting with different smokestacks on this one. Here's another modern Bachmann 440. This is a D2A number 138. This one also deserves its own entry in Bettering Your Bachmann. And now for the modern Pennsylvania Railroad 440, my D16 number 2063. Definitely another Pennsy favorite of mine. Here's my custom painted and decaled E7. I chose to do it as 8063, as that is the real E7 that is preserved at the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania. And here's my E6 number 461, probably my most reliable Bowser steam locomotive. This is my Pennsylvania Railroad F3. As you can see, it still needs a headlight and some other missing details. Here's the numberless Pennsylvania Railroad G5 by Bowser. This locomotive unfortunately has zinc pest in its cylinder casting, so I'm not sure how much longer this engine will be able to be used. This is my custom painted and decaled Pennsylvania Railroad H3 number 1167. I do need to repaint and re-letter the tender, as it became quite bubbly during the process. Probably my favorite Pennsylvania Railroad brass locomotive is my H6SB number 2846. This locomotive is high on the list to get DCC and sound. One of my first Bowser steam locomotives was my H9 number 3563. Moving on to larger Pennsylvania Railroad steam engines, we have my I1 number 3687. This was one of my first Bowser engines to be repainted and lettered. And here's my J1 number 6165 by Broadway Limited Imports. Next we have an ever-classic Pennsylvania Railroad locomotive, their K4. This is a pre-war variant by Bowser, and still needs a number. Next we have another K4, this one being the first one in my collection. This is the famous 1361. And one more K4, this also being Survivor, number 3750. This one was actually a Christmas gift from my girlfriend's mom. I decided to spruce up the paint and decals just a little bit. Dipping back into Bowser locomotives, we have my L1. This engine actually needs a new number, so gotta get on that. And one last Bowser steam locomotive is my M1A, number 6749. Getting into the experimental Pennsylvania Railroad steam engines, here's my Q2, number 6195, the one-off steam turbine, number 6200, and the last Pennsylvania Railroad steam locomotive, my T1, number 5536. Moving on to Pennsylvania Railroad diesel locomotives, here's my Pennsylvania Railroad 44 tonner, number 9351, an SW1, number 5987, a very well detailed Atlas S1 number 9238, a Baldwin S12 number 8791. Moving on to road switchers and staying with Baldwin, we have my RS12 number 8776. Next we have a pair of twin RS1s number 5906 and 9914. Here's a locomotive that was probably the best deal I ever received on eBay. It is a DCC Sound RS11. Like, seriously, I didn't even know it had DCC Sound until I fired it up for the first time. Turns out it has TCS, which, in my opinion, is probably one of the better sound systems you can get. After that, we have a GP7 number 7221. Then we have a trio of F units by Athearn. These are old blue box models, and I converted the B unit to be DCC. These were also custom decaled, and you can see they kinda need some work in some places. Here's another F unit, this one being by Bachmann. 9654 is kind of on a temporary long-term lease from my friend. Here's an A-B set of Sharks by Bachmann. I used to have an A-A set by Roco, but I decided to get rid of those in favor of these. I much prefer the 5 pinstripes to the single stripe. These units are also set up in a cow-calf configuration. Basically, I have the A unit be the main DCC power function, and then wires go back to the B unit to power the motor and provide electrical pickups. Another set of Pennsy diesels that I want to get a similar treatment to the Sharks is my pair of FA and FB number 9609. Moving away from covered wagons for a bit, here we have my GP35 number 2261, an Atlas C425 number 2419, a U2C number 6500, and another locomotive that was a gift from my girlfriend's mother, an SD35 number 6039. I do eventually want to give this a more realistic Pennsy paint scheme, with the dark Brunswick green and the Keystone logo. Here's the largest diesel locomotive I own, a Centipede number 5833. This is an engine that I stripped the DCC board from and put in a different locomotive, but we'll get to that here soon. Still functions as a DC model for now. Moving back to 5-stripe goodness, we have a pair of E8s, number 5894 and 5804. 5804 unfortunately took a tumble, resulting in a broken plow, but I was able to replace it with a brass part. This engine was also gutted and is basically a dummy unit. Here's another updated locomotive in my collection, this time being a Balco PA number 5752. One of my more rare diesel locomotives is my BP20 number 5783. This is the locomotive that also received the DCC and soundboard from the Centipede. And now for a true classic, the Pennsylvania Railroad GG1. This example is number 4828. I'm on the fence of replacing this locomotive with the Bachmann version. I've heard only good things about it. And closing out the Pennsy engines, here's my E33 number 4876. Moving on to New York Central engines, we start off with the DeWitt Clinton. Bachmann recently announced that they are going to redo this locomotive, but from what I've seen, it looks like it's the exact same tooling, so buyers beware. Here's a static silver model by Pewter of the famous locomotive number 999. But having a static model wasn't enough for me. I found a brass model of the 999 when it received its smaller wheels. I was okay with having this version because this meant I could spell out New York Central and Hudson River Railroad on the tender instead of having to buy one of the very finicky Empire State Express decals that are online. This locomotive was very interesting to paint and decal, but I'm very happy with the end results. And before anybody goes off in the comments saying, "Oh, Andrew K4, 999 never wore that livery and that lettering with those size wheels," well, here's a photo to prove me right, so... And not to mention, it's my model, I'll paint it however I want. Anyway, getting back to business, here's my G6, number 2941. This locomotive was kit bashed from an IHC 280. Another classic steam locomotive, this is the USRA Light Mikado, or on the New York Central, an H6A number 1867. Here we have a static plastic model kit. This is a J1E number 5405. and a working J1E5405 by Rivarossi. Here's my kinda kit bashed, kinda destroyed L2A number 2792, and my last New York Central steam locomotive, an S1A Niagara number 6010. Moving on to New York Central diesels, here are some RF-16s A and B number 3810, as well as RF-16A number 3818. Another F7A, this being 1211, and an F3A and B engine that needs to be numbered. I will probably number them both 1633, just like in this photograph at Wellsboro Junction. I do have a custom painted New York Central F3, this being 8200. Next up we have a New York Central E9 number 4070, an RS11 number 8000, a dummy GP7 number 5628, and a dummy GP30 number 6115. Closing out New York Central engines is my RS1 number 8105. Love the lightning stripes on this locomotive. Moving on to the Norfolk and Western, here's my W2 number 866. It is currently sporting the shorter tender that came off of an E2. And here's my favorite locomotive of all time, Norfolk and Western number 475. For those who watched my previous collection video, you know that this locomotive is able to be given a variety of different looks, like a bigger tender, a sunflower smokestack extension, a different plow, and an alternative smokebox front. Probably my favorite locomotive to run of any in the collection. Next up is my S1 number 2018. This locomotive is in bad need of a repaint. An E2 number 564. This is a different E2 than what was in my previous collection video. I much prefer the shorter front end boardwalk than on the other one I had previously. She is also sporting the Norfolk and Western medium-sized tender, which I think is a really good look for these. And now, probably the most expensive locomotive in my collection. This is a K1 number 100. I've always been partial to the looks of the K1, and when I finally found one for half the asking price that they usually were, I had to scoop it up. I have already fit an LED light to the headlight and crew to the cab. I still really want to convert this to DCC and sound. Here's another steam classic. This is the famous J number 611. This is my custom painted Y6B number 2119 by Rivarossi. Still on the fence whether I want to convert this one to DCC and sound or just get a Broadway limited one. And one more classic Norfolk and Western steam locomotive. This is my A class number 1217. She still has a damaged front truck, and that unfortunately causes her to derail quite often. And one last Norfolk and Western engine. This is my GP9 number 5710. Moving on to the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, here's my 040ST number 98. Next up is my custom former Buffalo and Susquehanna Atlantic number 1485. The Rivarossi Heavy Pacific. This is a P7 number 5311 President Fillmore. Another P7, this one being from Mantua and numbered 5314. I need to do a bit more work to get this engine running smoothly, and might also repaint it into the classic B&O Royal Blue. Jumping back to Rivarossi, here's my Big 6, number 6500, and one of my favorite articulated locomotives. This is an EM1, number 6200. I was able to acquire this engine on the cheap and didn't realize it was DCC and sound fitted. Briefly moving on to B&O diesels, here's a pair of F3s that still need some numbers. And another classic E9, this one being numbered 28. I gotta say, the B&O paint scheme on diesels is really good. Definitely in my top 5 favorite paint schemes. Moving on to the Erie Railroad, here's my Russian decapod, otherwise known as a J2, number 2450. This locomotive has been reworked to look like the same engine that ran on the Tioga Division of the Erie Railroad. Another classic Rivarossi Pacific, this is my K5, number 2936. I go back and forth on whether I want to make this a more accurate K5, because I kind of like just having a Rivarossi engine to just be a Rivarossi engine. but we'll see. Here is another rare one. This is an S3 number 3382. Unfortunately, this one is not a very good runner. It has a tendency to throw its main crank pin, and definitely needs some more weight so it can actually pull big trains. We'll see if I can't sort out those problems in the future. Moving on to a couple of Erie Railroad diesels, here's a pair of GP7s numbered 1220 and 1233. Kind of funny that I have one with dynamic brakes and one without. And here's another E9, this one being numbered 830. Shifting gears again to the Lackawanna Railroad, here's my Q4 number 1631. This was not only my first brass locomotive, but also my first custom painted brass locomotive. And some more good old Stewart F3s. Here's an AB set of 6060, and a custom painted F3A number 656. The Lackawanna paint scheme is probably my favorite of any railroad ever. In keeping up with that paint trend, here's another E9, this one being numbered 814. I would love to get a second locomotive to pair with this engine. Now we're going to switch gears again to move on to the Erie Lackawanna Railroad. This is a dummy unit by Athearn, numbered 2570, and one of my favorite Alco locomotives wearing one of my favorite paint schemes. This is a C425, number 2457. Next up we have a very grimy SD45, number 3607, which I have often paired up with my very beautiful SD45 number 7632 in the bicentennial paint scheme. I bought this custom on eBay, and I do want to try to patch some of the decals at some point. I did put a satin coat on top to keep the decals from flaking further. Starting off my collection of Reading locomotives, here's my I-10 number 2019. This is one of the older Bachmann engines, and somehow its gear has not given up the ghost. Next up we have a brass custom painted T1 number 2102. I decided to go with the freight livery for this, as I feel it's a more universal look than the current paint scheme. Here's an AB pair of F7s, number 283. And lastly, an SD45, number 7602. You got two locomotives for the Central Railroad of New Jersey, the first one being my L7A number 774, and my G3 number 833. This was my first heavy kit bash, and I started with a Rivarossi locomotive and then added a whole bunch of brass details. Definitely really need to do a video on just this locomotive. A brief look into the Delaware and Hudson Railroad, here's my custom J class number 1519. I took away a lot of the Union Pacific look of this by giving it a new pilot, changing the footboards and the handrail. I also switched out the bell for a brass part. It's a little hard to tell in this photo, but I also shortened the tender. Definitely a unique Rivarossi Delaware and Hudson Challenger. And lastly, a pair of RF-16s. These are the two that survive today, number 1205 and 1216. Like the Pennsy ones, these also receive the cow-calf modifications, but this time have one more wire so the headlights work. And now onto the nickel plate road. Here's my custom H60 number 587, the same one that was under ownership of the Indiana Transportation Museum. This locomotive will also be featured in its own Bettering Your Bachmann video. Here's a bit of a problematic nickel plate road Hudson. While the locomotive runs just fine, it has the wrong tender, and every time it tries to go around a curve, it shorts itself out. I need to try to find something that will work that's actually more prototypical. Here's the classic Rivarossi S2 number 779, and the famous Bachmann S2 number 765. Here's a beautiful Alco PA number 187. Unfortunately, this locomotive has been having some motor issues. Hopefully I can rectify those in the future. And closing off the nickel plate road, we have my GP9 number 534 and an SD9 number 340. I may also turn these pair into a cow-calf situation like I did with my Baldwin Sharks, but we'll see. And now we'll move out west, starting with the Southern Pacific Railroad. This is my custom painted MT4 number 4376. Definitely a personal favorite of mine from the SP. And now for the famous, half of the famous GS4 Daylight number 4449. The reason 4449 is missing its chassis is because it is currently under its guise as the American Freedom Train. While it is technically the same locomotive, I'm going to count this as two different engines just for the sake of consistency. Here's a unique one. This is an AC9 cab forward number 4272. And a classic Athearn Blue Box PA in the SP Daylight scheme. I've always liked the SP paint scheme on the PAs over the E9s. But speaking of paint schemes, probably my favorite paint scheme from the SP is their Black Widow scheme. This is being sported by Fe and B number 6198. And under the SP's Heritage scheme, here's the famous Jupiter number 60 from the Central Pacific Railroad. This locomotive has already been featured in a Better in Your Bachman series video. And what's Jupiter without its counterpart? Here's the Union Pacific 119, also featured in the Better in Your Bachman video, which is a nice transition into Union Pacific Railroad. This is another silver display model by Pewter. A donor of these actually provided some parts for the 119. And the living legend itself, number 8444. I'm debating whether I change this to just 844, but we'll see. And what's a Union Pacific collection without a Challenger? This is 3985. You could see that it was one of the variants that did have smoke deflectors at one point, but I've never had it when I acquired this engine. And in case any of you guys have not had enough big boy action this year, here's my custom renumbered 4014. Previously, this locomotive was numbered 4004, but all you gotta do is get rid of a 0, add a 1, and bam, 4014. And we'll close off the UP with my static model of a big boy. I'm gonna probably renumber this 4012, that way I can have both big boys I've seen in person. Now moving on to one of my favorite Western railroads, the famous Santa Fe. Starting off with a bit of a weird one, this is a Bachmann 484 number 3751. What makes it unique is that it actually has been retrofitted with a Bowser chassis. This makes the locomotive not only more powerful, but also eliminates the risk of the wheels coming out of sync. Next up we have a Santa Fe Texas type number 5014. While the wheels have not cracked yet, I would like to upgrade this to a more modern Bachmann 2104. Here's another underrated paint scheme, and also a personal favorite of mine. This is an AB pair of FTs that have yet to be numbered. They also feature some of the closest coupling of any diesel locomotives I have, and still work on my curves somehow. And what is a model train collection with at least one of these guys? Here's a powered A and dummy A of the famous Santa Fe war bonnets. And by far the cheapest locomotive in my collection, this is a GP38 number 3500 by Lifelike. And now for some big war bonnets. Here's my -8 40CW number 8002. We'll briefly transition into BNSF locomotives. Here's another -8 40CW number 701. It's fun to pair up these two war bonnets to make it look like the beginning of BNSF Railway. Here's another fun custom locomotive that shows its early heritage. This is my BNSF 3110. Fun fact, I actually worked with this exact locomotive when I went out to Kansas to go to conductor school. And while it has since been repainted into the more traditional BNSF paint scheme, I had to model it as I remember it. Very grimy, very rusty, and a little clapped out. This is the first locomotive I've made that has a flashing beacon light and working ditch lights. Eventually, I want to update it with DCC and sound. One last entry for BNSF, this is my AC 4400 number 5612. This engine is also fun to pair up with the -8. We have two entries for Amtrak, and they are both -8 CWs. First we have number 510 in the Pepsi campaign scheme, and then we have 517 in the Phase 4. Phase 4 is probably my favorite Amtrak livery, and I really like it on the -8 CWs. Oh boy, everybody's favorite railroad, the Penn Central. We'll start off these with my RS-11 number 7600. This locomotive needs some traction tires, but I'm kind of thinking I might get rid of it at some point. Now we have an SD35 number 6023 and an SD45 number 6204. And now moving on to something a little bit more better, we have Conrail. This is the second locomotive in my collection, a GP35 number 2273, then a dummy GP30 number 2189, and a pair of SD40-2s, being 6520 and 6373. Interestingly, both of these SD40-2s would be given to Norfolk Southern and CSX respectively. I think it's a fun little tie-in to have these two engines together. And now, on to Norfolk Southern. Here we have a slightly custom GP38 number 5604. Oddly enough, I didn't even know this locomotive existed, but turns out what makes it special is it has the Pennsylvania Railroad Keystone logo on the cab, and I was able to catch it by happenstance on my way home from Maryland. Seeing as I already had a GP38, I decided to make the conversion. This is another Dash 8, number 8300. It's missing its handrails on its conductor's side, but I'm also considering selling this locomotive off. This is a very nice Dash 8 CW by Atlas, numbered 8404. Next up we have a couple of heritage locomotives. This is my ES44AC number 8102 in the beautiful Pennsylvania Railroad livery. Not to be outdone, here's my SD70ACE in the New York Central Heritage paint scheme, but both pale in comparison to my favorite livery on 1074, the Lackawanna Heritage unit. Now we'll move on to short lines and regional railroads, starting off with the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad. Here's their classy 440 number 6 with DCC and sound, and my favorite, number 27, also featuring DCC. And here's a fun one, the Maryland and Pennsylvania Doodlebug number 62. This is a brass model that was custom painted and lettered by myself. I've added window glazing, but would like to add an interior at some point, as well as DCC. Another personal favorite shortline railroad is the Countersport in Port Allegheny. This is my D1 that I custom painted and lettered. It even has a twin that is currently residing at my friend Tom's house. I decided to upgrade this with the new Bachmann 44-ton chassis, and now it has DCC and sound. Another custom for the C and PA. Here's number 6, their beautiful 440. This was custom kit bashed from a Bachmann Spectrum engine. It will likely also feature on Bettering Your Bachmann. And one last completed CNPA engine, here's number 15. This was built using an old Roundhouse 280, and I've given it several new features, including a brass tender. You got 2 locomotives for the Fallbrook Railway. Here's number 20, the James H. Rudder, and number 70, Northern Tier. Northern Tier was customized using a Colorado Midland 280, which, coincidentally, both railroads ordered the same locomotives from Schenectady. Another big kit bash was my Reading and Northern number 425. This was built using a Bowser New York Central K11 locomotive and an IHC tender. It's not the most smooth runner, and I would like to try to do this engine again at some point in the future. On the flip side, my pair of RDCs from the Reading and Northern, number 9166 and 8168, are very smooth runners. These were also some of the easiest locomotives to kit bash. All you had to do was paint the chassis blue, a little bit on the number board, and you can buy the decals for these engines online. And moving on to stuff that was close to home, here's the Tioga Central, Wellsboro and Corning, as well as the Lycoming Valley Railroad. Starting off, here's Tioga Central number 14, followed by Tioga Central number 240 in the Susquehanna paint scheme, number 62 featuring a Lehigh Valley-inspired paint scheme. Definitely need to do the decals again. You can see they're really starting to chip off here. And the beauty of the bunch, number 506, featuring the Delaware and Hudson's bicentennial paint scheme. Earlier this year, Bowser released this locomotive in production, and I'm kinda tempted to get that one. Speaking of Bowser, here's an SD40-2 number 307, probably one of the most detailed diesel locomotives in my fleet. And because I feel obligated to have Genesee and Wyoming in this mix, here's GP40 number 51. While this engine nor any other GP40s actually works over in Wellsboro, I kinda don't give enough of a crap about G&W to get the right engine. And rounding off on a higher note, here's my GP35 number 2016 in the Lycoming Valley Railroad paint scheme. Now we're going to look at a couple of one-offs. Starting off with a real fun Gandy Dancer, although it's currently missing one of the people. Next we have a Prussian Railway 420 Norris type, which I'm debating on turning into one of the first Tioga Railway engines. Another fun one is the one I've dubbed the Hollywood Train. This is a 440 by Rivarossi, which was kind of an experimentation in painting, but also just kind of nice to have a generic 440. Another famous locomotive is Illinois Central number 382. This one being well known for the last locomotive Casey Jones took on his infamous last run. This engine was modified to have working marker lights, an updated paint scheme, glazing in the windows, real coal in the tender, and was also featured in a short video I made commemorating Casey Jones' accident. Another future entry for the Better in Your Bachmann series, this is my custom Baldwin Locomotive Works number 26. There's a lot to cover here, so we'll save it for that video. And another future entry for the Better in Your Bachmann series, this is my custom Everett Railroad number 11. Here's my custom painted Skookum number 7. Boy, was this a fun engine to try to line and letter. So many little letters on the tender, and all had to be placed by hand. Here's a custom Roundhouse 2-truck Shay that has been upgraded with the Northwest Shortline gear kit. And probably my favorite of all the geared locomotives, this is my 2-truck Climax. While the original brass model was an oil burner, I made this one a coal burner. And probably my favorite Rivarossi locomotive of all, this is my Southern Railway PS4 class number 1401. This locomotive has had some of its painted parts enhanced, as well as a front step above the pilot. Here's a recently painted brass engine. This is my custom Bessemer Lake Erie number 643. I did a bit of work on this to make it look more like the actual Bessemer Lake Erie 210-4s, as this brass engine is actually based off the ones that went on the Duluth, Mesabi and Ire range. Here's another large locomotive. This is my Chesapeake and Ohio H8 Allegheny number 1644. And another fun one. This is my Brill trolley from the South Shore line. I'm debating whether I want to repaint this into the trolleys that would have worked in Williamsport, but I can't find any color photos of them to actually know how I want to paint them. Here's a bit of a rare custom. This is my Monon F7A number 83A. This dummy unit works in tandem with my nickel plate Road number 587. Another beautiful piece of local railroad history, this is my Wellsville, Addison, and Gailton F unit number 2300. This locomotive is from Bowser, and it is beautifully detailed and it runs very smoothly. Can't recommend their engines enough. Another one-off is my Burlington Route GP20 number 5628 by Tyco. And now for another often overlooked classic, this is my Strasburg Railroad SW8 number 8618. Can't wait to convert this one to DCC and sound. And another appropriate locomotive for this year, this is my Tyco Super 630 1776. This locomotive was a gift from my uncle, who acquired it in 1976. He was never able to get it to run very well, but after watching some YouTube videos to how to take these apart and clean them, I got it running pretty decently. Here's the famous Polar Express from the movie of the same name. This is a very fun custom, and I've even weathered it to have snow and ice effects. This was also already featured in one of the Better in Your Bachmann movie series. And now, onto some foreign power. Starting off, we have two Canadians. First is Canadian National number 89, famous for working at the Strasburg Railroad. This locomotive was built from a Bachmann 260 and also deserves an episode in Bettering Your Bachmann. The other resident Canadian on my collection is my Canadian Pacific D10 number 1085. This locomotive has a lot of running issues, so I would like to be able to get these worked out in the future, but we'll see. I'm half tempted to just get one of the ones by Rapido. Continuing on with foreign power, but switching gauges to 00. First up is the world-famous Rocket by Hornby. This locomotive has its crew fitted, but it's not the only Rocket in my collection. This is the first Rocket in my collection. Unfortunately, the wires on these are very easily able to break, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to fix it. But I got another set, which gave me more cars, and then I tried my hand at cleaning it up again, and heaven forbid, I got it to work again. Kinda just use this one as a spare engine now. Here's one of my favorite British locomotives, one of the LBSC Terriers, this one named Brighton Works. This is one of the old Hornby models, but I did pick out some of the paint in the cab, and it looks a little bit better now. Sticking with the LBSC, here's one of their beautiful Atlantics, number 39, named La France. I love watching this locomotive go around the circuit, pulling the Pullman cars. They just really work with this engine. And here is the newest locomotive in my collection, the Caledonian Railway 812 class, number 828. When Rails of Sheffield announced they were doing a second run of these engines, I knew I had to pre-order one. I'm so glad I finally have it. It's a beautiful runner and a really good looker. Moving on to the Great Western Railway, here's my 14XX, number 1466. This is one of the older engines, and it does have a bit of a finicky running mechanism. And here's my favorite engine from the Great Western Railway, or at least a similar class. This is not the famous City of Truro, but this is actually City of London. I'm not too concerned about not having City of Truro, I just like the Great Western engines with the red and green livery. And can you really have a Great Western Railway collection without at least one 460? This is a modified Hall class number 6962, Salton Hall. Sorry for likely butchering the name. Here's probably the most adorable 00 locomotive in my collection. This is my Great Eastern Y-Class 040. This engine is by Rapido, and man is it a beautiful runner and very beautifully detailed. And what's a 00 collection without having the world-famous Flying Scotsman from the LNER? This is an upgraded locomotive from the tender drive engine I had before. And man does it make all the difference. Definitely a much smoother runner. And speaking of upgrades, here's my LNER A4 Mallard. I decided to also part ways with Sir Nigel Gresley, and this engine is much nicer, though I do have questions about the size of the tender compared to the size of the locomotive. Moving on to British Railways, here's my favorite British locomotive of all time. This is my IVAT 2MT number 46526. This is one of the weathered variants by Bachmann. Here's a slightly problematic 8F that has some electrical issues. I thought I was able to work through them, but I seem to only be making things worse. I'll definitely see if I can get this engine running smoothly again. And here's a model of the last steam locomotive built for British Railways, famous 9F Evening Star. Closing off the 00, here's my Coronation class City of Lancaster. I definitely love the Crimson Lake paint scheme on this engine. Now moving on to narrow gauge, starting off with HON 30. Here is one of the first kit bash locomotives I've ever made. This is number 1 for my fictional Laurel Hill and Liberty. This was built on a Bachmann 060 chassis, and the frame is made of an old toy that I had from growing up. Here's a Plymouth diesel number 2. Right now it's number 12, but we're going to get rid of that 1 here at some point. Here is number 3, an 040 ST that I have customized to have a working LED light and a wooden running board. Here's number 4, probably the smallest locomotive in my entire collection. Unfortunately, this engine also has running issues, so we'll see if we can get through those in the future. Here's the yet-to-be-painted number 5. This is also built on a Bachmann chassis, but this being one of the 040s instead. Number 6 is a 244 Forney and is the only locomotive to be labeled for the Laurel Hill and Liberty Railroad. This is one of the Joe Works kits, and it also has some running issues. Pretty common with these little guys. And here's the best locomotive in my HON 30 fleet. This is number 7, an 060 by Mini Trains. While this engine is very expensive, it was definitely well worth it. And with a new locomotive collection, here's an all-new scale. Now we're moving on to HON 3. Starting us off, here's Addison in Northern Pennsylvania, number 4, named the J.E. Jones. And here's a second Addison in Northern Pennsylvania engine. This is number 6, named Thomas C. Platt. And here's a locomotive that I thought I would never have in my collection. This is my custom-painted East Broadtop Railroad number 16. This locomotive was featured in my first unboxing video, where I wasn't sure what scale or gauge it actually was. Turns out, it is HON 3. Unfortunately, this locomotive does have some running issues. It seems like the worm gear might be pressed up a little bit too much against the main gear, but I'm not sure. Definitely need to investigate further. And now, we'll move on to locomotive projects that are in various states of completeness. Starting us off, here's my custom Athearn Boston and Maine number 3713, the Constitution. This locomotive has received a bit of work since the last video, but we still need to do a lot of pipe work. Here's an 060 ST by Roundhouse that also has some motor work that needs to be done. Here's one that some of you will be excited to see in the future. This is my Strasburg 90, using a Bachmann 210 and a USRA tender. When this locomotive gets done, you better believe there's going to be a better in your Bachmann on this one. And speaking of the Strasburg Railroad, this is eventually going to be Strasburg number 1, their Little Red Plymouth. Here's a prototype I don't think I've seen anybody try before. This is going to be my Baltimore and Ohio Tom Thumb. I'm building the locomotive on the chassis of a handcar, and it's going to be pushed around by one of the chassis from a high rail truck. Just gotta build the car frame around it and sort out some of the details on the engine side. The chassis from this rail bus will eventually be paired with a plastic rail bus kit, and eventually become the one used on the C and PA. And speaking of the Coudersport and Port Allegheny Railroad, this 460 will eventually become Coudersport and Port Allegheny number 1. Here's another Roundhouse 060, but this one is the tender variant. I'm not sure whether I'm actually going to get this locomotive done or not. It's kind of been sitting on the shelf in purgatory for a very long time. Same could also be said for this Western and Atlantic General. This engine needs a lot of detailed parts to really get the project up and running. This engine will eventually become a Buffalo and Susquehanna 280. This poor engine has kind of been getting sidelined as far as the project goes, which is unfortunate because it'll be a really interesting custom to have. Another project that keeps getting sidelined is my New York Central Atlantic engine. And honestly, this engine really doesn't need that much more stuff to get it finished, so I just need to give myself a kick in the pants and get it done, I guess. And speaking of engines that could definitely get done very easily, this is my Tyco Mantua 460 that'll eventually become Fallbrook Railway number 3, Tioga. But with Bachmann announcing that they're going to be doing a new tooled 460 from the 19th century, I'm kind of wondering if I should just get rid of this and use that instead when it comes out. Finishing off the projects is my also constantly shelved Fallbrook engine that's going to be one of their more modern 440s. This has one of the Carey upgraded boilers and runs on a Tyco Mantua chassis. But we'll see if this engine ever gets sold or if they'll do something else with it in the future. Doing some quick calculations, we come to a grand total of 242 locomotives. That means we now have 71 more locomotives since 2023. So the reason why I'm making this locomotive collection video now isn't just because it's been 3 years since the previous installment. As some of you know, I have moved to Maryland, in with my girlfriend. And most of the locomotives and passenger cars and freight cars have been packed away, but luckily for me, most of them were able to fit on the truck and fit in the closet here at the new place. So the real question is, what is going to become of my layouts and my collection? The new place is too small to have a fully installed layout, but I have my Kato track and I will be able to run them on the floor, as well as the narrow gauge stuff up on the workbench. My layouts back in Pennsylvania have been tarped over to keep most of the dust off. And while living in a town kinda makes conditions for painting stuff a little bit harder, I think I'll be able to still do some smaller things. I can definitely do decal work, as several locomotives and cars need that. And I plan on visiting home every now and again, and I can always bring locomotives that need painted up to the farm for the weekend. A real silver lining is, now that I'm not going to be in a shop working on models, maybe I can start making videos on some models that I've already finished. Definitely stay tuned, because there will be more installments of Bettering Your Bachmann, and maybe even some videos of some custom locomotives that I've made. Still promising that Blue Comet video. I also do plan on going on more rail fanning trips with my friends in the future, so there will be a lot of content and probably plenty of time to actually make some videos as well. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and comment below if you have any of these locomotives, or if you would also like to make kit bash engines of your own. And with that, this is Andrew K4 signing off.